Good evening. We are going to introduce our PIA of Ethics and the Culture of Legality. And our topic is the country of impunity, the abusiveness of political power, and the role of corruption in Nuevo León, Mexico from 2015 until nowadays. Next slide, please. In the present work, we will talk about the dilemma that Mexican society, specifically that the state of Nuevo León faces. By its very nature, governmental institutions are the pinnacle of power in the region where they're set, and they make the decisions that ultimately shift and set the way our economy, society, and day-to-day lives work. Our main question, or the question that we will try to answer, is if abusing power is part of human nature or an inevitable consequence of power itself. With the aid of historical documents and qualitative methods, we will attempt to find the answer throughout this work.
Now we're gonna review the risks that are mostly consequences because it is already happening. And well, as a political risk, there is like a puzzle in the politics where people who are corrupt are going to have like a chain of also corrupt people to bend or to direct the politics in their convenience. So this is resulting in either hiring individuals that will act as accomplices of these corrupt acts. And well, as an economic risk is, well, the risk about having the money of the people and use it to specific or interest to satisfy rather not the people but a group that is not the first option to satisfy the interest. So yeah, and the security risk is, well, that Fred will explain. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Vivi. Yes, regarding the security risks, given that this project is actually something about attacking the biggest offenders who practice corruption on a daily basis, we are attacking and pointing fingers to people on high ranks in different positions like the police or people in many aspects of the government. So this is like a a big risk to us because we're trying to show the society, show the people who are these people and what they are doing. And given that they have these higher ranks, there's always the risk of they pointing something at us, given the huge position and the amount of weight their decision making has toward in our government and in our society. So that's one of the main risks that we have regarding this project. Another thing that we want to mention regarding this investigation is that we have a huge relevance in the sense of ethics, culture of legality, and rule of law. Because corruption has been an act that has been going for a lot of years and it has been present since the day we were born, and it has been continuing showing in different aspects of our life. So it is quite a little bit of counterproductive that the people that are in the law and that are responsible of protecting and defending our rights and everything that has to do with the security and the well-being of the people are the ones that are constantly making these illegal acts, not following the rule of law that we live on the state of Nuevo León. And of course, the relation to their ethics is quite questionable. So we want to show everyone in this involved in this investigation and everyone who reads this investigation that part of our project as well. Next slide, please.
Okay, now I'm gonna talk about the problem statement. So our main problem here is the abuse of power. So this is something that has been existed in Mexico for many, many years, and it's becoming more dangerous to like making Mexico a country where corruption and repression are key to making the country worse. So um, one of the main inspirations for us to choose this topic was the question of when did the government become an entity in which cannot trust. Um, so we are meaning to find this answer without investigation, and now I'm read the definition of abuse of power, which is based on practices of social exchange in which conduct is executed based on a hierarchical and unequal power relationship. That is a situation that can occur anywhere in the world, regardless of its political or economic system, but it tends to proliferate in countries where institutions are weak and rules are ignored. So now we have throughout our history, Mexico has a really, really big background of abuse of power, and unfortunately there are 1,000 cases which involves different spheres of the society, and it's some of the clearest examples can be the sphere of state or the democracy process, etc. So now let's go to the next slide, please.
Yes, and now that we define what our project is and the problem statement that is about abuse of power and corruption, then we establish our goals and objectives, and we defined two goals, where the first one is to understand the causes behind these acts of corruption and the abuse of power in Nuevo León from uh, two governors, specifically from Broncos and Samuel Garcia, that are from 2015 until nowadays. And the second is goal is to minimize the impact of corruption and abuse of power within the Mexican society in our state, that is Nuevo León, and uh, since this affects the funding of social development. So these are our goals. Then our objectives to achieve these goals are these five. So they are basically to do some research within historical documents, some news, to have information about these two governments. And we will carry out some surveys to Nuevo León society. We will see on the activities which groups we will make these surveys. And the second objective is with the information of service, we will identify the most common cases of corruption and abuse of power. Then, as a third objective, we will estimate the impact of these actions that of abuse of power and corruption, the impact they have in the social development of Nuevo León society on the period that we said, 2015 until nowadays. Then the fourth objective is where we want to raise awareness and influence citizens within human rights, that maybe government is violating our human rights. Let them know that how to ask the government to respect them, to ask for transparency, and etc. And the final objective is to activate citizens where they can be able to monitor the actions that public authorities are making, and also to ask them, the government, for accountability. So since these are our objectives and goals, the activities that we will be doing is to analyze the surveys and analysis from the same INEGI from this period, 2015 until nowadays, and then we will create some opinion polls where we will ask people about their experiences, opinions on these activities of corruption and abuse of power. Then we have that we will specifically do some surveys to public officials, also to businesses to know the environment in the companies and all, if there is some corruption experiences, etc. Also some household surveys, that is to citizens actually. And then we will measure and categorize this information given on the surveys and the polls, and we will try to make some categories of within the corruption scale, a degree of corruptibility. And after having enough information, we will create local groups to take action and disseminate this group around our state, our city. And after we have this local group, we will make some public events to raise awareness, and we will collect some money in order to create campaigns, create manifestations, etc. Things that can make people know about what is happening. And we will also have some meetings with politicians, that this will be a key to let them know like our results, what we have collected in our research, with polls, surveys, with information that the society is giving to us. And we will demand them changes to end or minimize this corruption and abuse of power, well, following the laws and giving the people the transparency we deserve. And finally, the last activity we will be carrying out is to make some denouncements and reports, rather of human rights, acts of corruption and abuse of power, and rather from citizens, businesses, any person that has had faced a situation of this.
Okay, yes. Now we're going to continue with the expected results regarding what we want with this investigation. So, first of all, we want to know, and we want to focus mostly on the different type of government, or the government that Jaime Calderon had during the years that he was into the position of a governor. And we want to focus mostly, after doing every survey and etc., we want to know who was in charge of main and management of the state financial resources. As well, we want to get everything as possible for the citizen opinion. What are their concerns? What have they seen in the different locations that they live in? We want to know what if they might have any suspicious acts that were handled within the different secretaries in Nuevo León. This is by doing different surveys, as we mentioned before, to the workers and employees that are in the different secretaries. Of course, everything is going to be anonymous, so they can feel free to share everything that is concerning them regarding these acts. And we as well want to know and want to investigate a little bit more on the criminal records that the different head of the state, and as well the other secretary leaders have been doing in their years, since before they were in charge of the secretary, and well, during their position, so we can show them to the citizen and to the society.
Another set of expected results is the accuracy of the published data, anti-corruption policies, efficiency, and to create a medium to develop programs against corruption and to make the society know the root of the problem. Our main goal is not to carry out a very profound diagnostic, but to create a medium to develop programs against corruption that are focused on reform as well as collective action, especially given that corruption is not a measurable issue. We want to base our results in the results of the survey that are based off of public opinion, because it's the most accurate way to understand the dimensions of the issue. And according to public opinion, corruption is a very difficult aspect to deal with and to truly understand.
Okay, so lastly, for the scheduling and budgeting part, we have this table where we establish all the activities we did or we are planning to do. So our main objective is to disseminate this important topic that affects the whole population of Nuevo León, and we will share the results in a non-profit way, which is why we choose specifically a program budget, and this will encompass the second and third week of May, and we will be covering mostly the most important things and expenses that we need while launching the polls, and later to share the results. And during the awareness campaigns in the last week of May, in the second week of June, the attendees to these events we will be doing, they will be able to support us with any voluntary cooperation. This in order to help us to promote the results in a more strategic way. And the donations will actually limit the scope in which we can outgrow the range of the advertising we'll be doing. And the reason why we chose this type of budget is because it allows us to be transparent in the whole process. And after all, the transparency is the key for instilling trust and confidence in everyone and everyone with the team that is involved in the management of this project. I think that will be all for our part. Thank you very much.